Welcome to Healers Talk Healing, the podcast where we gather to explore the art and science of holistic healing, uncovering the secrets to a happier, healthier you. I'm your host, Nina Ganguli, and together we will delve into the intriguing world of holistic healing, delving into the mind-body connection, ancient wisdom, and natural remedies. Get ready for enlightening stories, thought-provoking expert interviews, and practical tips that will empower you to unlock your true potential and embrace a vibrant, balanced life. Whether you're an experienced wellness enthusiast or simply curious about the power of healing, join us on this exhilarating journey as we share the wisdom and insights that can truly transform your life. It's time to embark on a voyage towards a happier, healthier you. So, without further ado, let's dive into the captivating world of Healers Talk Healing. Welcome to today's episode where we delve into the transformative journey of self-discovery and healing with Cheryl Walker at Artist Holistic House. Cheryl, a master of scientific hand analysis, family and systemic constellation facilitator, and energy scan practitioner, guides creative and spiritual entrepreneurs towards uncovering their life's calling and embracing their innate gifts. Through creating a nurturing environment for healing and the release of self-defeating behaviors, she paves the way for individuals to embrace their true selves, unleashing a life of prosperity, intentionality, and unbounded freedom. In our conversation, we'll explore the fascinating process of life purpose reading through handprints, revealing your life's purpose, your unique way of engaging with the world, and your life's lesson. Your most challenging hurdles that once overcome unveil your most significant purpose and gift. Moreover, we'll uncover how the scientific hand analysis and family constellations entwine to offer a profound approach to healing generational trauma and dismantling unconscious self-sabotage. This journey is not just about personal liberation, it's about becoming a compassionate ancestor, enlightened to the patterns and beliefs inherited from our lineage, and making empowered decisions to live a life unchained from the past. Join us as we dive deep into these transformative modalities with Cheryl Walker and discover how to soar to new heights in your authentic and unencumbered life. All right. Well, I am super excited today to be speaking with Cheryl Walker on Healers Talk Healing. And guess what we're going to talk about? Healing. And, Cheryl, it's just like I can feel the warmth of who you are coming through the screen and coming into I'm wearing headphones, so coming into my headphones. I'm looking forward to dive in to our conversation today. And I ask everyone, the starting question always is, what does healing mean to you?
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, and I appreciate those kind words. We'll just emanate from the screen. Healing, I think, in a way, gets a bad rap because actually the word healing is what we do. We go to the doctor when something's wrong with us to get better. It implies something's wrong and that there's something to fix. However, the kind of healing we're talking about is to be more of ourself, to get out of our own way and to get to the core and the essence of who we really are so we can do what we came here to do. And I don't know if there's another word for that. It's kind of, well, people use the phrase peeling an onion, but it's never done. The work is never done. It's a lifelong process. And so it's
Exactly.
a process of unfolding and getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think getting to know ourselves is a big part of it. But that's my take.
I
On
love it. I love that because, it's so true. Because if we're looking at, the essence, our essence, when we come through the vessel, we have an essence, and then stuff kind of builds on top of things over time. And healing, you're right. Like I never looked at it that way. But now that I'm listening to you and I've heard it in several different versions, something similar, like, we're whole and complete. So there's never
Oh,
anything really to
yes.
fix
Yes.
aside from looking at what works and what doesn't work in our lives. And
Yes.
then, so what I'm getting through what you're sharing is like, it really is looking at what works, what doesn't work, and then to look at what's not working and then input what needs to go in there in order for it to work and our true essence to reveal itself. It's not the finding of oneself because we're here, but
Right.
it's
Yeah. I like that.
uncovering like a
Yes.
treasure, like
Yes.
uncovering this treasure that's there. And we just have to,
Absolutely.
keep digging a lot. And you're right, the digging never stops. Every
No.
time I think, oh, I thought I dealt with this. I thought this has been taken care of. And I'm like, God damn it. It's not been taken care of. However, the difference for me, and I don't know if you believe the same thing, is that now I have different tools. So I'm not in that
Yes.
space just as long as I was before. Now I'm like, oh, here's the hammer, here's the screwdriver. Okay, now I know what I need to adjust and I can move through it faster.
Exactly, exactly. And gaining those tools and all of the different modalities that healers today use are just ways of getting to it. I mean, getting to the essence from different angles. And they all, one's a hammer and one's a screwdriver and one's a, and I agree with you totally that it just, the more we do it, the better we get. And then we notice things quicker and we can shift the scene more
Mhm.
quickly and adjust so it feels better. Because basically, if you don't feel good, something's got to adjust, and then you adjust it, and so you can kind of stay on course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I love that. I love that. And then, uh, you use several different tools. You help people with several different tools. You do the family constellations and the hand reading, and I'm sure you incorporate all of your art in there as well, which I find fascinating. Your journey I found fascinating from, being that art teacher and teaching art and moving into family constellations and hand reading. I would love to hear more about your own personal journey from where you were to where you are now, where you're going, and what it's done for you, the impact it's had on your own life.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right? Loaded question, right? Don't worry, we got time.
Okay, okay, okay. We'll take our time. So I've always been an artist for as long as I can remember, and
Mm,
um, that for me, I guess, was a way of getting to know myself.
mm,
Without, I mean, as I look back on it, I see that that's always, it's traditionally a solitary pursuit. And you're in the studio and you do the work and you make a painting. You don't know what the painting's going to look like until it's finished, and even then, it's like, so it's always been there. And then the teaching, I've always needed both the alone time in the studio and the interaction with different audiences. And I've
mm,
worked in museums and university settings, and I've worked with underserved audiences. I've worked with older adults. I've worked with youth. I've worked with inner city kids. I've worked with disabled adults. And all just in the name of widening this being kind of a broad band.
mm,
But there's something to be learned from every different community. We're all different, yet we all are basically, I mean, we're all human. And so I love getting to know people. And that is my balance from getting to know myself. And so it just kind of evolved that way. Um, I retired from 30 years of teaching just a few years ago. And my intention has shifted from making objects, even though I still paint and draw and I make things, but my priority is engagement. And I
mm,
think that's what's relevant in these times, getting to know ourselves through, I mean, through ourselves, but also getting to know other people and making connections. That the healing really for me is about making connections, and that's really important. And yet to be connected to others, we need to be connected to ourselves, and that is my balance. That's my the art making is how I connected to myself. Yet the healing modalities, I realized that I was actually um, kind of guiding students in a way. I'd say things that I wouldn't realize were, kind of, well, but directing students on a life path. And
Mm.
I've been doing that my whole life and loving it. And it's we're in a different time now, and I also appreciate working outside the academic community. I think that's pretty limiting and one of the structures that's shifting and changing, and so it's a building community in a new way. What does that mean? I mean, and now we have Zoom, and that just opens the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so we learned so much from the pandemic and being isolated, which was horrible. Yet, what did we gain from that? That Zoom is what I got from all of that, but Zoom got me, with people in Australia and all over the world, different time zones and Philippines and Santa Barbara and New York and Belgium, and that's exciting to me.
It's
And
beautiful.
just being able to reach out and connect in that way,
Mm.
that's exciting to me.
Yes, it's what was the catalyst for you to choose the modality that you did?
And which modality are we talking
All
about?
right, maybe both of them. There's a story
Okay,
there for both.
yeah, there is. Um let's see what came first. That's tricky. Actually, constellations came first.
Mm,
The deeper understanding of myself and bringing it all together came through the hand analysis. In both cases, I never intended to be a constellation facilitator, and I never intended to read other people's hands. In both cases, it was because I'm going to learn more about myself. And with constellations, it was my own family system.
mm,
And I'm going to try not to cry because what happened, the way I got to constellations, family constellations or systemic constellations,
mm-hmm,
as it's often referred to, constellation work has nothing to do with the stars in the sky. But the reason it got the name of constellation is because of the relationship between the stars. So you have, the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, the
mm-hmm,
Pleiades, all of those. It's about a grouping and the relationship of those individual stars to each other that makes another picture. So
mm-hmm,
in family constellations, we look at the family and the structure of the family and the dynamics and the relationships in the family dynamics. And that forms a picture of, actually, it's a visual conscious picture of an unconscious, our interpretation of what those relationships in the family are. And it's not the same for everybody in the family. We all have our own perspective.
mm-hmm.
And the way I got to it was, my therapist at the time said, this thing with your dad keeps coming up over and over again. And why don't maybe you want to try constellations? Oh my gosh. I went the first time. I was totally hooked. Totally hooked. I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And I there was a group happening, and there's a facilitator and someone, the client brings an issue, and then everybody in the room is available to represent people in that person's family system. A
That's what I
family.
find fascinating. I was reading about this. I've actually seen somewhere, I don't remember, maybe it was through Oprah. I can't remember, but I
Oh,
watched this unfold. Like I've watched family systems unfold and how people get up and they step into, you
yes.
know, they'll take on a role. So you don't need to have any family members there. People
No.
take on roles. And would you recommend family members to go together?
Sometimes that's fascinating.
Okay.
I mean, it depends. Often people come because there's an issue with the family. Yet I've witnessed some very powerful constellations where someone brought a sister for support, and yet it was just as meaningful for both. One time I witnessed a family of 10 who was all
Wow.
there because one family member was in prison. all 10 family members showed up to support that one son in prison, and it changed his life. I mean, it changed but the whole family showed up in support. That's one of the most beautiful things I've witnessed. It doesn't have, so it's both and.
Mm,
It's not
mm.
necessary.
Right.
Yet
So let's just
when,
round back just for the listeners,
okay,
because because
yes,
I had that little understanding. I was like, oh, let me just jump in and ask this question. But like, how does it actually, like, in simple terms, like, how, what does it look like? What is a session, or yeah, or a workshop, or however you say it? What does it look like?
okay. It can happen in a couple different ways.
Hmm.
So the way I just referred to was when a group gathers, and the facilitator usually brings the group, and it can be, 10-ish, 15, 20 people. It can be a smaller group. And then there's the client who brings their particular issue, and they work with the facilitator at the beginning to determine and really hone in on the issue, because the more specific the better. And then that person chooses representatives from the group, and it's often better if you don't know anybody. um,
Okay.
and and then so someone would choose someone in the group to represent themselves, and I put in representatives one at a time. And there are other, basically it kind of unfolds, so you can focus on the relationship between who's facing who's standing behind who's and it's all, it's better experienced than explained, because it all happens. There's a body sensation. So the person steps in, and this is where it's a very phenomenological experience. And we cannot explain it, it just happens.
Because,
And I've
it
witnessed
sounds
it.
like they kind of, like, when I was watching it, it's like, are you channeling this person? Like, how does it happen where they, or, you choose a representative to represent your mother, father, sister, brother,
Yeah,
boss,
yeah,
whoever,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I watch as they display emotions and an
Yes,
understanding. And it is, you're right, it's fascinating.
yeah. It's a little bit of magic. We can't
Mm.
explain it. Yet the representative acts as, I guess we could say, something like an objective transistor or
Ah,
receiver.
got it.
And someone you know isn't objective. So this is why it's better if you don't know the person.
Okay.
And there are no accidents. Often you're in a role and see something in yourself you hadn't noticed before, and there's always a reason who gets chosen for what. Um, that's what's hard to explain, that it's because it's so experiential, and it's so powerful once you do
Mm.
step into it. That was the first time I experienced it, and I honestly, I watched for a couple hours, and I thought, oh, that's fascinating, that person does, oh, that, my body would never do that. Well, then the people who invited me left, and they're like, before the night's over, Cheryl, you might want to try representing. Well, I did, and this is a real example.
Mm.
I was put in, and this was happening remotely. This was for, the client was in New Zealand, and I was put in. I didn't even know it, because sometimes we do this as a blind constellation. You don't know what you're representing, and then the information comes through. I
Wow.
was I was put in as her bleeding uterus. I had no
Wow.
idea, but sometimes you get. Well, I ended up on the floor. I was like, okay, I got it. Okay, I'm here. I'm here. Okay, this is real. This is real. But
Mm.
I kind of had to feel it in my own body, in the context of the situation. And I didn't know until after the whole constellation was over, maybe 45 minutes later, that that's what I was representing. And then we know that as a result of that work we did, that her bleeding stopped.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah.
It's for our listeners out there, for people who are new to the world of holistic healing or even family constellations. Maybe you are in the world of holistic healing. Uh, I think all of it has to do with a little bit of magic, if that's the best term we can use, you know?
It's what you bring to it. It's really is. There's something called epigenetics, and
Mm-hmm.
that is that the family line and what we carry of the family, at least 7 generations, if not
Yes.
more, in our DNA. It's really there. How does it get expressed? Sometimes it gets expressed in a bad habit. I don't know how to make money because my whole family was in the famine. So
Yeah.
if I make money, I'm going to be betraying my entire family line. And for me, that's both sides. So
I hear
and
you.
so it manifests itself in different ways. Um, yeah, and also more recently, I I do constellations with just one-on-one on Zoom
Wow.
now. And so we have different strategies. If you don't have people to represent, we use objects. And so there's something called a treasure hunt. And you can go find objects. Okay, we've narrowed down the issue. We have a discussion. Okay, pick an object for you, an object for your mother, an object for your father, or whatever the issue comes up. And just the objects that the person chooses, and you put them in relationship to each other, and who's facing who and how far away are they, and what's the distance, and what happens if you turn one this way. And so you're tuning into your body as you're using those objects to represent. So in other words, as you're doing the work, you're tuning in to that. And okay, how does it feel in your body if you turn yourself away? Ooh, you feel that. And then, oh, if you turn yourself facing, what if you shift the distance? So that's just the start of ways that, but because of Zoom, that's what I've become. It feels very empowering because you don't have to get a group together, but the
You're
same
blowing my
principles
mind right
apply.
now. You're blowing my mind right now.
Yeah.
I love that I don't know enough about this, to be honest with you, because I think it makes for a better conversation, but you're blowing my mind. Like, wow, that's incredible. Because there was a part of me that's okay, but can you do this by yourself? And it sounds like, obviously you can, for those who maybe are nervous about having other people around or whatever it
Exactly,
may be.
exactly. Because if there's a big issue and we always, have confidentiality and establish a sacred space, all of that. But yet, still, a lot of times, I mean, there's systemic abuse, or it can
Mm-hmm.
be. And the thing with constellation, there's absolutely no judgment. It's
Mm.
a matter of looking at what happened and accepting it. And oh, well, that's why this grandmother acts that way because she was in this situation. And well, no wonder. And so I kind of act like that too when I'm in that situation. And it's really, um, it's really powerful and dynamic. Um, so when we bring in ancestors, so if we bring in mother, father, um, and we call in the different generations, the ancestors are always willing to show up. They want things better for us than they had it, and they are completely available. That's the other thing that's kind of um, not taken. Some people don't, is there another life? Is there an, well, it's a continuation, and all of those ancestors are available, and they want us to call on them, and they want to help, and they want to be available, and they want
Mm.
things for you that they didn't have. And
Mm.
usually there are things and habits that get stuck in the family system. And I find that people that come to constellations want to do things differently than their family has done.
Yeah, they're the pattern interrupters, right?
Yes, yes. And times are completely different now than when our ancestors, in any time. Uh, so, and we have more tools now.
Join the Miracles Directory where healers connect and wellness begins. Join a community of trusted holistic professionals or find your path to healing and peace. Visit themiraclesdirectory.com. Start your journey today.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we have so
We're
much
in a
available.
space where I feel like they use the word awakening. I think I use the word sometimes too, but more like expansion of ideas.
Yes.
So they're
Expansion.
more open to
Yes.
testing out, not just the doctor or not just the therapist. And they're not just because they do help.
Yeah.
But, you know, as a healer myself, I'm seeing more people are even people who are like, oh, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I was that person, and come and sit on my table or even through Zoom. Yes, Zoom is magical. Um, discover something new.
Yeah.
Even when I don't know if this happens to you, Cheryl, but every session that I do, that I when I'm working with people, I get shocked still. I'm like, oh, this stuff actually works. It really,
Oh
really
yeah.
works.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I,
so
I
great.
love I love to see the distance people travel.
Mm.
You never know what's going to land. You can do a whole constellation, and even we can't have judgment. Did it work? Did it not? I don't know. Yet it can be a turn of a phrase or some one little incident in that
Mhm.
that stays. You change a person's life,
Yep.
and it's really, and it's, how much you show up. I think there is. I know that in meditation there's the phrase expanded awareness, which is,
Hmm.
I think, what refers in general to what you're speaking of, that we are expanding our awareness in general
Hmm.
of the universe and of,
Yep.
we have to, so many changes going on, we can't do things the way they've been done up until now. We have to be aware, and we have to have that expansion to.
Yeah, and I would say to people out there, wouldn't hurt to try something different because what we've been doing isn't working. It's
Exactly.
not called insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Right, right, right.
So how does the other modality that you use, which is what was it called again? I forgot. Oh my
Scientific
gosh.
scientific hand analysis.
Hand analysis, which is
Yeah,
very cool. I know nothing about hand analysis, like nothing. So I think it'd be great for you to share with us what it is and how you can use them in tandem and how you do it on your own. Like I just give it to me all. Give me the juice, Cheryl.
okay, okay. So, like with constellations, I had an opportunity to have my hands read, and that's all that I was expecting, is get a reading from my own hand. Your um, life purpose is in your fingertips, your fingerprints. There's no accident the FBI uses those fingerprints, because we are all completely different, completely individual. Even identical twins have different fingerprints. Then
Mm,
there's different information in your palms. You have your lifeline, which is not how long you're going to live, but kind of
mm,
your level of stamina, and how
interesting.
the stamina in your body or not, and how to deal with that. You have your headline, which is how you think, and then there's your heart line, which is how you feel, and it all kind of forms one bigger picture. And I was in such disbelief after my own hand reading that I was like, I have to. Is this really true? I was actually kind of, it is, I've been an artist my whole life, and my hands um, said I was a spiritual teacher. I'm like, what? Me? What do you mean? That I'm a healer? What do you mean? What? And then it says I'm a business person. I'm like, what? Come on, I got to know more about this. And so the person who read my hand said, okay, well, the new class is just starting, and they're starting on the thumb. And I'm like, I'm in, I got to know this stuff. And again, I was just hooked in a
Mm,
way that was so fascinating, just knowing more about myself. But then the people in the class, and this was on Zoom at the time, and then I'd done other trainings then in person, and the way we got to know each other, those of us who were studying together, and you'd see the relationships, and oh, well, this is how someone with that kind of a headline acts, and this is how someone with this kind of heartline, what kind of relationships they've had and what struggles they've had. And you start to see, you start to understand each other again in relation to each other. It's not all
wow.
about just me, because once I knew my own hands and know my own hands well enough, that when I look at somebody else's hands, I see things about myself and learn things about myself from another person's hand every single time.
Wow.
And I really love those strong connections. I really
Mm.
do. And I keep meeting people that have similar markings. It's like, wait a minute, I thought there was a only 4% chance that that kind of marking was, so but it does, it kind of draws those people then to you, or at least that's what I've found. Yet the fingertips, your fingertips, the prints are actually formed 14 to 16 weeks in utero, and so this is like your life purpose set, like what you came in with. And we're learning, and we have learned, this is scientific, and a lot of hands have been studied and analyzed and statistically and all of that. But the lines in your hands are, they mimic the neural pathways in your brain.
Jeez.
It's literally how you're wired.
Get
So
out.
yeah, yeah. So literally way back when, the gypsies were reading palms, and everybody was discrediting them, it's this,
Hmm.
the witch hunt thing. Well, they were probably just holistic healers back then,
Hmm.
using
Yes.
natural medicine, is that,
Yep.
and those in control were threatened by all of that. Yet
Hmm.
yet it's our body. I mean, your body doesn't lie. I mean, and there you are. There's a roadmap in your hand. So once you know what's there and how to follow it, or what's there, it can show you past challenges and how you might shift course. Well, yeah, that happens to me, and as you do the work and you evolve, the lines in your hands can change. They're,
Seriously.
seriously, your fingerprints don't change,
Hmm.
but the lines in your palms can. And so as you
I
evolve,
can't
there are
help but look at my hands now. I'm like, I can't stop.
I wish we could do one like right here and just kind of,
Right.
because I can even tell of just how, when someone holds, I ask someone to, hold their hands up like this, and I can tell just the distance between the fingers. Again, the relationships, just like we use representatives and constellations, it's like the relationships between the two fingers, which, one finger represents responsibility and another is creativity, and how the
Wow.
distances between. And I can tell if someone has kind of abandonment issues, and just from how someone holds their hands.
Okay,
and
we got to do this. We got to try it. Come on. Just for the people. Not for me, just for
so
the
are we gonna,
people.
are they gonna see the visual? Can we,
Yeah.
okay, back up a little bit, back. Okay, I'm looking at, okay, two things I noticed just right up, because the view isn't all that great. But okay, the topmost line across, the topmost line
Hmm.
across your hand, that's your heart line.
Okay.
I notice it's very short, and that's called a hermit heart line. It means you need a lot of time to yourself,
Hmm.
a lot. And if you don't, your body doesn't like it. Is that true?
I don't know.
Do you spend a lot
I
of
would say recently, yes. I prefer to be more like I love being with people. I
time? Yes,
do. Like I am an
yes,
extrovert.
yes.
I love being with people, but
One doesn't exclude the other.
yes. So I've recently moved, and one of the things I miss that I had in the old house, which I don't have in this place yet,
Mhm.
is my own office, my own room where I can run away from
Ah,
everybody.
there you go. That's it. You need time to refresh and replenish and to tap in with yourself and your own guidance. And then you go out and you interact, and you bring more of yourself with your interactions with other people.
That's crazy. You know why, Cheryl? Because that is the every time I'm asking the universe, what should
Mm-hmm.
I be doing next? What's next? What should I be
Mm-hmm.
doing? And all I keep hearing is, you just need to rest. You need to be quiet. You need to
Wow.
just, and I'm like,
Wow.
but aren't I resting? Aren't I quiet? Maybe I don't even know what that means.
Okay. So here, then the other thing that I notice in your hand
Hmm.
is your lifeline, the one that wraps around your thumb
Uh
on
huh.
that same hand.
Yeah.
Yours does not wrap around your thumb. You notice that?
Yeah.
Hold it up again.
Okay.
It kind of stops.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, it stops. That means you need to replenish your energy. This is about physical stamina. It means you need to rest. So that's two places in your hands that your body is telling you to rest before you go do more. Because often people that have that kind of lifeline, it's like, I gotta go, gotta go. And you don't take the time to rest. And then you get tired or you get sick or whatever. So that's the same message that's coming from two places in your hand. And that's just your right hand. Are you right-handed?
I believe I was born left-handed, and I
Oh
was
wow.
I was changed to be a right-hander.
Wow. That would add quite a bit to how we interpret it
Yeah,
because
this
well,
is
let's say your
sorry, this is
dominant.
my left hand. Can you see it?
Okay, I noticed similar. You have a real short heart line there too. So with the rest and the other, your lines are very clear. You don't have a lot. There's not a lot of extra
I
noise.
tell everybody to bugger off and leave me alone.
But the
I'm
rest is
teasing.
key, and
Mm,
it's about replenishing. It's not so when we say hermit, it's acknowledged that alone time that you need to kind of tap into yourself and follow what it is. And
mm,
when I talk about the right and left hand, so your dominant hand, okay, right now is your right hand.
yes.
That's your in the world hand. And your left hand is your more personal relationship to yourself and more personal relationships.
Mm,
So I would have to look at that and ask you more about okay, now wait a minute. What if we now look at your left hand as your dominant hand? But the markings were similar. So I'm
mm-hmm.
seeing this mirroring in a way,
Wow.
which is really fascinating. But I would have to then consider where your markings are in your hand. At when I read your fingerprints, I would consider your left hand as your dominant hand. And so
Okay.
it's different placements of there's different kind of fingerprints. There's arches and loops and tented arches and whorls. There's those four kinds. But then there's all different degrees of
Mm-hmm.
complexity in each one of those. And then the placement where they land on each finger in what hand then determines your life purpose.
Oh, Cheryl, I need to book a session with you.
Okay.
You hooked me in, man.
Okay.
And
Okay.
for all the listeners, I'm hooked in. So you know what? I'll get back to you and let you know what happened.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool? Oh, we should do another
Yes,
one after that.
of course.
Yeah. And so here's the other part. That's your life purpose. Okay.
Okay.
But then the opposite is also true. Your life lesson is your lowest ranking mark. So we
Mm,
have charts and things that we refer to and how we
okay.
determine what's the highest ranking and the lowest ranking. The most complex and the most simple is not exactly the way to put it, but in simpler terms. Um, so your life lesson is the thing that keeps coming up and you're like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Like the things that don't feel good. And your life purpose is what you're good at. Often,
Mm,
often.
mm.
However, what your life lesson is the stuff that keeps coming up over and over again. Once you really master that, that's your purpose. In other words, your greatest weakness becomes your greatest strength.
Wow.
Because you're looking at it over and you develop it, and it's like that's where the buried treasures are. Really,
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
yeah. It's like what we've come in this lifetime to learn, so to speak. School's in session. Okay,
School
here
is in
it is
super
again.
session. Wow. I'm
Yeah,
blown away. Thank you so much for that little, like, I'm blown away with that. I can't wait till I actually have a session, totally booking a session.
my pleasure. I
I'm
can't wait
gonna
either.
do it. I'm like a kid in a candy store when I get, when I get to know myself just slightly better every
Yeah,
time. It's
yeah.
so fascinating. Sometimes I get angry. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm the bomb.com. That's totally aging myself, but it's to me, this journey of life, good, bad, ugly, fabulous, is just so fascinating and stimulating to me. And talking to, healers such as yourself, even people who are not in the same mindset or world that I'm in. Just learning about people is fascinating. And I see why we just had that instant connection because you said the same thing. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, and I think, traditionally, at least in my family, is almost considered selfish, in previous generations, to know yourself in the ways, the
Mhm.
opportunities we have to know ourselves now. Yet, the more we know ourselves, the more we know everybody else and how we relate to everybody else. It's not
Yeah.
it's not just for us. We're not like keeping it all to ourselves. And that's
No.
kind of what happened in both of my situations that I thought I was just okay, I'll do this for me. And yet I learned so much about me, then I can see that I see myself in other people.
It's
And
so
I see the
crazy.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the opposite. I started on this, okay, my healing journey, I did start for me because I was very, very angry. But when I
Mhm.
went into life coaching, when I went into learning Reiki, it wasn't for me. It was to serve in a place that I could for others, but I get so much out of it. Like whenever I'm done a session of coaching or when I'm done a Reiki session, I swear it's like I had drugs or something.
Wow.
I am so lit up afterwards.
Well, because you're more yourself. You're
Mm,
you're more available. The
yeah.
parts of you are you're available. And
Yes.
when you're speaking of things like service, and service to others, and um, there's something else in your hands that called your operating system,
Mm-hmm.
and it's your school basically. And there's four schools. One is school of service,
Mm-hmm.
one is school of love, one is school of peace, and the other is school of wisdom.
Wow.
And depending on the type of fingerprints you have puts you in, well, I don't like the word category, but
Mm-hmm.
in the broader, because we all have aspects of each one of those. Some
Right.
just lean more towards the
Mm-hmm.
others. And when you know that about, oh well, that's how I operate, well, that seems natural to me, then you're like, no, no, something's not wrong with me. It's just how I am. That's how I operate.
Mm,
That's kind of my MO. That's what I and the more you know about that and can tap into it and work from that place, be from that place, to be who you really are. And if it is school of service, and I don't know if you're in the school of service,
mm-hmm.
um, because early on I tried to guess. I knew those four schools, and I tried to guess which ones I was. Forget it, I was totally off. So,
Yeah,
so
I'm not gonna
that's
try
what
to
I mean
guess.
by we all have different aspects of all of
Mm,
those, but by degrees.
yeah, that makes sense. Like we all have differing gifts, or say you and I have the same gift, but it's not going to be the same. It's going to be, there's going to be degrees of, where we thrive and where we don't thrive in those areas. And I'm just
Exactly.
like, this conversation has just been so wonderful. First of all, I want to thank you for doing what you do for others, for taking the time to get to know yourself so that you could serve and help others. And how can where's the best way for us to find you? Of course, the miracles directory, you can find Cheryl in the miracles directory,
Right.
but where else?
Okay. I'll give my phone number. That's okay. You can send me a text message, or I can give you an email address. What would be good for this
What would
context?
be good for you?
Either one. Either
I'd
one. I
say,
mean,
okay, just being protective of people, like
let's
give
do an
them your
email, huh?
email address.
Let's do an email address. Okay. Okay. And I have a website also.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, I have a couple websites. One's my art website, and the other is my healing website. So
Okay.
I'm going to say Artist Holistic House, and that's artist plural, ARTISTS,
Mhm.
holistic, HOLISTIC, holistic house, all one word, artistholistichouse.com. And you can email me, Cheryl, CHERYL, at artistholistichouse.com. And
Amazing.
also, I'm going to if we got screwed up with the spelling of Artist Holistic House, because it's kind of a mouthful, you can also reach me at CherylWalkerArt.com. It will
Okay.
take to the same place. So CherylWalkerArt.com and Cheryl at CherylWalkerArt.com. I have it kind of divided into the visual arts and the healing arts, so you can get there in the same way, and it's kind of divided. You just get to the same place from two different directions.
I love how you said that. It's the best way to like close out our conversation, the visual arts and the healing arts, because it is all art. And again, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And yeah, we are going to round back up after I have my session with you.
Thank you so much. You've made this so easy. I love it. I can't wait to talk more. Wow. And to read your hands. Beautiful.
All right. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Healers Talk Healing. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your holistic healing journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue learning and growing with us, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, and review our podcast. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, healing is a lifelong journey, and you have the power to transform your life in profound ways. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop believing in your own capacity for healing.